You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is the power of the mind to heal emotional and physical pain. There's a lot of talk lately about biohacking yourself in order to heal from physical or emotional pain. What's the difference, really? Both types hurt. In one sense, physical pain from injury is often easier to recover from than emotional pain from grief, fear, loneliness, and isolation. These mindsets present the greatest stress and danger to our well-being because unresolved emotional pain eventually translates to physical disease. The mind can create the problem, but it can also solve it. My special guest today is Beatty Carmichael, the author of The Prayer of Freedom, a science-based prayer method that helps people break free from a lot of issues, including chronic pain, anxiety, addiction, emotional trauma, and even bipolar disorder. He teaches this method at one of the largest addiction recovery centers in the US. So welcome aboard, Beatty. Lovely to have you.
Well, thank you, Sandy. I'm excited about being here.
So my first question is, what happens to the mind when a person has an emotional injury or trauma that goes so deep they can't seem to resolve it? How do they get trapped in that space and unable to help themselves in your experience?
I think what happens a lot of times, especially with trauma, and especially with a trauma from another person, you have trauma from a car accident, but that's a little bit different. When you are dealing with someone who's hurt you and has betrayed you, it goes deep to your heart, not your physical heart, but your kind of like your spiritual heart. And it's hard to let it go because the betrayal was so bad, the wound was so bad, and a lot of times we we don't know how to let it go, and it just kind of grips us. And then the longer we go with that, it just keeps continuing to just to almost like a boa constrictor snake. It just continues to constrict us and grab us and compress us, and just I like to use the word torment because it impacts everything we do in life. And because it was so bad, we don't know how to let it go, because to let it go almost means that you condone, that you agree with, that you accept what happened to you. And what happened to you was so wrong that you can't let that go. So we just kind of hold on to that. And in fact, the science world calls it the fight or flight mode. And it keeps our body in high stress. On a spiritual side, it keeps the body in out of balance spiritually, and it just has terrible impact to our being.
It does. So you mentioned the issue people have with injustice. So there's a few hooks they hang on, isn't it? So injustice could be one, and another one is guilt, feelings of guilt, feeling of being unworthy or less,
Yes,
and very disempowered, isn't it? So when people
yes,
are in that space, they're a kind of a prisoner and a mental prisoner.
yeah. The term prisoner really probably expresses it better than anything I've heard. I teach as a volunteer at an addiction recovery center, so women's recovery center, and it's one of the largest ones in North America. And what's happened is a lot of these women, they've been abandoned. Many of them have been molested and even raped at an early age, like at 5 or 6 or 7. And they deal with the shame of it all and the guilt, thinking that because at that early age, you can't make sense of anything. And so whatever you come to the conclusion of when you're 5 or 7, when this is happening, that's the perception that you carry throughout life. And so they feel a lot of times that they're maybe even at fault. So they're guilty of it, even though someone else perpetrated that harm against them.
Yep.
And now,
Transferred. Yeah, it's
right,
transferred. Yeah, it's not theirs, but they have to carry that baggage,
that's
or they
exactly
think they
right.
do. Yeah.
Right. They're carrying it and they don't know how to let it go. I tell people all the time, all we are as grown-ups is we're that little child we used to be in a grown-up
Yeah.
body.
Yeah, I like that, which is true. We are. We are.
Yes.
We. And, so when you're helping people get out of that mental trap, um, are you talking to that child inside? How do you address that?
So there are a lot of ways to address it. I look at it from a spiritual perspective. A little bit about my backstory is I was born into a line of 7 generations of medical doctors. So healing through medicine has been in my bloodline for years. And then I didn't go into medicine. I went a different route and in business. But 9 years ago, uh, I started to have this insatiable urge to move back into healing, like my family line. But I started to look at things and realize that medicine and therapy and all these other things really haven't moved the needle for so many of these issues. This is why people will live in chronic anxiety and mental illnesses, usually a lot of times from these deep traumas. And therapy really hasn't been able to figure it out well. So I started to look at it from the other side of the coin. So one side of the coin is the physical side. So this is where you have the medicine, you have the therapy. The other side of the coin is the spiritual side, because our mind and our thoughts and our emotions are actually more in a spiritual dimension rather than the earthly dimension. This is why you can't cut open my body and say, okay, there's where your emotion is. You can say it's somewhere in the brain, but it's really not. So I started looking at it from the spiritual standpoint, and I started to uncover some things that their spiritual roots. So what I'm doing in my work with the Prayer Freedom book and at the Addiction Recovery Center is I'm helping people pinpoint these issues in their lives and simply let it go spiritually. And when they let it go spiritually, it's like overnight, complete shift. I remember one lady, her name is Ashley, and she was actually raped at about 5 or 6 years old. She was traumatized. She was abandoned. She was raped by her dad and her uncle, if I have the story right. So it's just really horrible. And she, by the time she made it to the Addiction Recovery Center, she was anxiety and depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder. She was on 400 milligrams of Seroquel a day, 200 in the morning, 200 at night, just to calm her down. She was taking Zoloft, and I think it's called Bisporine or something. I
Yeah,
forget the name.
polypharmacy is always a
Yeah,
bunch that come together with a
yeah,
synergistic effect that cause a lot of other problems physically
right.
to the body, and they degenerate us faster.
They
So,
do. They do.
and unless there's a crisis and you really have to deal with something in the immediate moment of like a panic attack, ongoing treatment with uh, antipsychotics or, and other kind of psychiatric drugs are really not a good solution for people's physical health because it
No.
deteriorates faster. They have a shorter lifespan. Uh, Clearly, something isn't working well, as you said, and the other issue isn't being addressed. So I liken it to, you have a pain in your foot, and instead of taking the shoe off and getting the stone out, you keep taking aspirins to
Yeah,
try and cover up
exactly.
the pain.
Right. And that's the way I started looking at it because I recognize all these things were just dulling the issue, the manifestation of the issue, but they dull the person and it's horrible for your body. But with her, I simply guided her, or at least my book did, because I've mapped out where these sources, these issues come from and how to release them in just kind of a do-it-yourself approach. She said she went through that, and the very next day when she woke up, it was all gone. I mean, it was like she went to the psychiatrist and said, "I feel fine. I don't think I need any of these meds anymore." She said, "Well, if you don't need them, don't take them." And that was 6 months ago. She hadn't been back on her meds since. So if you get that that root that's on the spiritual side of our being, then that root is causing this physical side of the manifestations that doctors and therapists are trying to cure, trying to
Yeah.
control. and it doesn't. But if you handle it over in the spiritual side, it disappears.
Yeah, they're really the tail trying to wag the dog, right?
Yeah,
And so when you say the spiritual side, it's very much a psychological approach. In other words, the power of belief influences our physical being, our whole body reacts to how we are thinking. So you think, so you are. And this
yes,
is what's not being addressed by mainstream medical science, always, giving you medications without dealing with the actual problem that
yeah.
caused the symptoms.
So, and the thinking drives it. Both the thinking that initiates the problem, right? So, take her as a little child. She's being abused. She's being molested, and the thinking is, it's my fault, and now I'm shamed, and whatever those emotions are, that's the thing then that caused it. But what's real interesting, Susan, what I'm finding, Sandy, is that once that thinking happens, there's something in the spiritual realm that there's like an energy source within that thinking that now starts to amplify that thinking, and you can't turn it off. It's like it won't let you let it go. And so it drives you. While the human side of us says, it's still your thinking, there's actually something else that I've been able to prove out that's amplifying it and making it just keep on going. And you have to go back to the root of what happened and deal with it in your mind at that point. I call it, you have to kind of confess, okay, I
Yeah.
did wrong over here
Take
in terms of my thinking.
responsibility.
You take responsibility.
Yep.
And once you take responsibility, then the stuff will start to leave you. It's almost like with my daughter. When my daughter was little, and she would be fussy, fussy, fussy. I'd put her in timeout, let's say, and now she starts to think, "Oh, I don't like being in timeout, and I've been really fussy." So she'll come to me and say, "Daddy, I'm so sorry. I was so fussy, and I shouldn't have been. I apologize." And as soon as she does, I know now there's a heart change. And so I'll put my arms around, oh, honey, I love you, and it's time to get out of timeout. It's almost like when we go back and take responsibility for how we think, how we responded to these things, and we respond in a negative manner,
Mm.
then once we do that, with a little bit of a little bit more, depending on the issue, there's a little bit more application from a spiritual standpoint. But that's the root. Once you do that,
Yeah.
then you can get rid of those roots in your life, and the negative outcropping in your life disappears. This is where I'm seeing addictions disappear, chronic pain disappear. I'm seeing mental illness disappear, relationship breakups that are all what you have constant relationship battles with your loved ones. They all start to calm down because they all have these spiritual roots.
Yes, and yeah, and they carry forward and pollute the future, and everything else you try to do is then affected. So to use another analogy, which I really like to use analogies, is it's a doorway,
Yes.
and the door is closed, and the person with the trauma or the PTSD or the addiction, whatever the issue is, has a tremendous fear of opening the door of responsibility, the door of acknowledgement that they were involved or they're guilty or this injustice was done or whatever it is. They don't want to open the door because they're afraid that things will get worse. But there's
Yes.
nothing that can be worse than the situation they're in right now of not opening the door. So, what you do is you help them open the door by overcoming the fear. And this is working with the mind. You overcome the fear to open the door. And then you get a resolution. Once they accept responsibility, then you have grace, that you have forgiveness. You have that great weight lifted off the shoulders, and you can start afresh and start again. And by having someone acknowledge you like another human being, another soul, with that hug that you did with your daughter,
Yeah.
there's a resolution and a forgiveness and a rejoining or a reunification or the so you've given away the separation that you existed in. You existed isolated, separated, rejected, and now you are together again in that human spirit. and joined together with a feeling of love and forgiveness, which people crave so much, but they can't get over their fear to open the door to get to the good stuff on the other side. So this is where your books come in, hasn't it? You have
Yes.
steps and protocols and strategies that people can do to overcome that fear and to actually go through that process to free. They're freeing themselves in a sense, aren't they, by doing this? They're taking action and releasing themselves from that prison.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. You were describing step by step exactly what happens. One quick story for our listeners. I was on a show and I wanted to demonstrate this. So, in a very simple approach, I did that and I had the guest, I mean, the host, turn off her mic and simply confess that she was wrong in some of her responses from many years back. She was dealing with anxiety. It was like a 6 or 7 on a scale of 0 to 10, and had been with her for like decades. And she did that, and when she got back, unmuted her mic, it took her several minutes to regain her composure. She was crying, and she said, "You know, I had to confess what was done to me as a child that I just kept bottled up in me. And I was so embarrassed and so ashamed of it that I wouldn't even speak it out loud. But part of this process is to confess out loud your response and your reaction to that." And she said it was so freeing, and like there's this weight that's just been lifted off of her. And it was the first time, and I think in like 25 or 30 years, the anxiety was gone. And yet it took so little time, but it was that confession and it released her. And so what I started to do over the last number of years is I started to outline this and track what works and what doesn't. As I mentioned in my book, I outline 18 different categories where we have these spiritual roots that will come in and open a door, using the same term you do, because that's the way it opens a door for these things to harbor in us, these energy sources that amplify these negative issues in our life, and it just crumples us. So what I do in my book is, like over the Addiction Recovery Center, just to share how simple this is for people, especially if someone's out there struggling, you've been living with all kinds of chronic or persistent issues and you want freedom. For when I have the students come into my addiction recovery class, I give everyone a copy of my book, the Prayer Freedom book, and all I do is I lead them to the back of the book where I have a worksheet where I've outlined these 18 different categories, and I simply give them time to go through and fill in the blanks on those 18 different categories of things that have happened in their lives. And then I give them a step-by-step approach to how to simply pray to confess those things. It's just praying to a God of the universe. This is not religious.
The,
It's just recognizing
the creator source.
the
Yeah,
creator source, exactly.
yeah.
And basically confessing and releasing and telling these issues in their life, like the addiction or like the anxiety, to leave. And that's all it is. And what's happening, this is what's so cool, Sandy, is for every 20 students that come through my class, and I give them this approach. I don't guide them through it. They just do it all on their own. Nearly 18 of them leave with all of their addictions gone, all of their chronic pain gone, all of their mental illness gone. The relationships at home start to immediately start to operate at a different level of frequency or energy, if you want to call it that, but more harmonious, not as bickering all the time. A lot of times these women have their kids there at the addiction facility because it's a residential area. And so they see changes with their relationship with their children, I mean, like immediately. And it's so easy because it's not like you have to learn how to do this. If you can paint by numbers, you can do the prayer of freedom because there's no thinking involved. It's simply make a list of these things from things that you remember from the past and then address it to this creator, this universal creator, and just confess these things and then these things melt away from your life. It's the most amazing thing I've seen because it doesn't take belief, it doesn't take religion, it doesn't take faith. It just says release.
It's understanding how the mind can be programmed. And if you
Yes,
understand that, then you can unravel those old knots and those old programs. So you're giving people steps to lift the problem into their consciousness, which they may have buried. That they may have tried to run away from it or, not accept it or, but it keeps following them on a subconscious level until they raise the issue into their consciousness and face it and realize that they have the power to change it themselves. So you're helping them to heal themselves in a sense, aren't you?
I am. And you made it so simple. These issues that happen in our lives are nuts. And what we've been doing is we've been ignoring them, pushing them away, and say, I'm not going to think about it because it was too difficult for me. But the only way to get a knot out is to untie it. You have to undo it from what had done it in the first place. So you have to bring it up to that consciousness and literally address it and undo it. That's what this confession, I
Back to the
confess
beginning.
back
Yep.
to the beginning, and then it disappears. I remember my daughter, even at 23, she was dealing with night terrors 2 or 3 times a week, she said. And she said, Dad, can you help me get rid of these night terrors? I said, sure. When was the first time you remember being scared? She said it was about 3 years old watching Psych with my cousin. Psych is a TV series. So I said, well, let's just go back to that point and confess that you were wrong to get afraid. And then we broke any negative spiritual connection with her cousin because it was her cousin that invited her to watch it and then commanded that fear to leave her. It was gone.
Yes.
She never had those night terrors ever again.
And you
And
told
so,
her she had magical powers.
right, it's like almost like you have magical powers, but what it is, it's a spiritual law because these are spiritual things. And so now we have to undo that spiritual root, dig it up by the root, and just throw it away. If you never get the root out, then the weeds continue to grow in your garden. You have to get it by the root and throw it
Yep.
away, and then it's gone.
And if you keep ignoring it or pushing it or burying it and not addressing it, it compounds. It gets worse over time. And as you said, that affects your adrenaline. You're in the stress mode, the sympathetic mode all the time.
Yes.
That wears you out because that produces a lot of acids. It has a real physical effect. And the more stress you experience, even on a subconscious level, like that background anxiety, the more you're peeing out excessive magnesium in your urine. And you need magnesium to calm the whole nervous system, the GABA system. Everything needs magnesium to regulate the electrical nervous system and calm us down into the rest and digest phase, which is parasympathetic. That's where all the good stuff happens, where cells repair, where we can sleep better. And so magnesium helps suppress that constant adrenaline and put you back to, the balance point. And a lot of people are deficient these days, which is why I developed Magnesium. That's my business, which is
Hmm.
transdermal magnesium absorption, creams, lotions, sprays. So it's all natural and people can absorb it through the skin because when you're very stressed, it's difficult to digest anything, let alone tablets. So through the skin is a great pathway. And these are things people can do in self-care, but you need to be feeling deserving of self-care and you need to understand you have the power to change yourself and you have the power to do good things and to be better and better and better and not be entrapped by old unhelpful programs that denature you and that rob you of joyful, productive life. And they need to understand first they have the power to change. So we are body, mind, and soul all wrapped up into one. We're a trinity. And we can't ignore any one of those aspects. And thank you so much for the work that you do and also teaching others how to be empowered and to realize that they have so much opportunity to have the best life and to be the best that they can be simply by changing their mind.
Yeah.
So
It's
we're
amazing.
I
People,
know. It's fun actually when you start to look at it. So that's really simple. But unless you know the strategies, it's like, oh yeah, you're driving that car, that looks pretty easy. But someone has to teach you the steps, one step at a time. You do this, then you do that. You do this at the same time. It's always helpful to have a teacher, isn't it? To show
It
you the
is.
way.
Yeah. I remember one of my friends from high school. He finally went through this. He'd been dealing with extreme depression and anxiety and all kind of mental abandonment issues. His dad had committed suicide when he was like 10 or 12 years old. So just a lot of hurts and traumas. And everything cleared up. And he was saying, I wish someone had told this to me so, 35, 40 years ago, because he thought it was something he had to live with. And yet the solution was so easy once he read the Prayer of Freedom and actually went through that process. It just disappeared. And most people don't realize that the issue we're dealing with starts in your mind. It's your thinking that started it, and it's your thinking that it can undo it,
Yes,
as long as you just go back and do it right.
back to the beginning and
Back to the
unravel the
beginning.
knots.
Yes.
I love that. So if people either want to unravel their own knots or pass on some good information to their loved ones, where can they find you or the book that you've written?
Yeah, so the best place is going to be the book, the website, theprayerfreedombook.com. So the book is called The Prayer of Freedom, but the problem is if you were to put this in Google or Amazon, there's so many things on prayer and freedom, you'll miss the book. So just add the word book at the end of the title, theprayerfreedombook.com, and then that takes you straight to the site for our book. There's a button straight to Amazon where you can buy it, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm sure a lot of people will get good information and inspiration from your teachings. And we need more of you and more
Thank you.
people self-empowered.
Yes. And we need more of you. I take a whole bunch of supplements, have been for years, and magnesium is one of those things that, it's just that calming thing. And I didn't understand how it works. Thank you for letting me know because now I go, oh, okay. And I
Yeah.
may try some of your product because magnesium is hard to get through the digestive filters.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is, especially in tablet form.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the bowel wall can't get high concentrations traveling across. So your optimal amount orally would be in naturally what would be occurring in spring water and food. And high concentrations tend to be lost in the toilet.
Yeah.
But through the skin, you can get higher amounts. And so if you've been under a lot of stress, that's in a high end category. Yeah, and even athletes, people do a lot of excessive exercise. It's whatever stress you put on your body uses up and churns through your magnesium. And so you need to put a lot back to replenish and recover. It's a very simple equation. But people don't always know how to get that magnesium in, or they may have digestive issues, gut issues. So electromagnesium.com.au, if you're interested to have a look, we've got a lot of information on there. It's all natural and organic. And you start to feel empowered and really good, and the mind then works better as well. You can understand, you get rid of brain fog. Lots of really good things happen because we're feeding the body with that electrical energy that it so craves to be able to do its job better and to get away from the unhelpful anxiety and stresses. Yeah, so it's all a question of knowing how, isn't it? Doesn't matter
It
what you
really
look at.
is. Yeah, it's just someone get teaching you the way and then just following it.
Well, you see, I got into magnesium because I had my own health crisis. I had to solve
Really?
it. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I couldn't digest the tablets. I had excessive stress. Sometimes I had to go 24 hours without sleep to get to print on time. Um, so I really feel for shift workers out there because when you're fighting sleep, when you should be sleeping, but you have to stay awake, that's one of the worst stresses you can put your body through. And it does take its toll over time. You wear yourself
Right.
out very fast. And most especially if you don't put enough magnesium back. So let me tell you, the difference is pretty amazing when we get that balance right. We just have to care for our body well. Your cells are like little children, they need feeding. And if they're
That's
hungry
so
for
true.
something, you have to feed them.
Yeah,
Or they
especially
or
the
they
right stuff.
or they cry and they scream. That's your pain. So
Yeah.
your body's just letting you know it's out of balance. Your pain is just a signal to do something, to change something. That's it. It's a road sign. And having the right tools allows you to better care for yourself and cater for those needs. So, but we do need to look after mind, and the spiritual side of us. We need to have that communion with others. We need to not feel isolated. We need to give and receive love, because that's also feeding the human being. With the spiritual side, it needs that nurturing. It needs the sustenance that love brings. That's an energy and a vibe that affects all of the cells in the body. And, people can find healing also from, extra love, extra prayers, extra communion with other people. Of course, loving, like-minded, good people.
Yes.
So,
Very.
but thank you very much for your all you're doing for the world, and hopefully we can get more of your message out there for people to help more to be empowered to self-care, and then when you replenished your cup, you can help others do the same.
And for those listening, go replenish your cup and
Yeah,
then start working on those loved ones around you. That's what I've been seeing with these
yeah,
wonderful women. Um,
yes.
but yeah,
Then we
uh,
can all have a spillover effect. We can spill over those good vibes to others.
yes, very much so.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me on. And for the listeners, just remember it's theprayerofreedombook.com. And that's the best place to go. So, and Sandy, thanks for letting me share the message of hope and recovery and healing to your audience.
Yes, don't worry, be happy.
There you go. Don't worry, be happy, and be healed.
Be healed. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.